I'm out, G. Yeah.
Hey guys, so I decided to do a site that's close by to home. Luckily it's down the street. I decided to do a site close by my house, and you probably guessed it already, Evergreen Park Plaza. So this place has been here for a very long time. It was first finished in 1952 and it's been in operation all the way up until 2013. My family's been going here for a long time. The site was planned by a man named Arthur Rubloff in the 1920s. Obviously, like I just said, finished in 1952. So my family's been going here for a long time. They've even when they weren't even living in Evergreen Park, this was a pretty well-known place because Evergreen Park Plaza has the moniker of being known as like the first modern American mall. It set the standards for a bunch of American malls all the way up until the 1980s. What's left of the original part of Evergreen Park Plaza was actually its newest store until it actually started getting destroyed, and that is Planet Fitness. You can tell that it's still old because it has its old parking lot pavement up until you get to the blacktop over there where they started the construction. This was the very last store, but here you can see that Evergreen Park Plaza is obviously not what it used to be. The investors are trying to make it a giant strip mall outlet. It's not going to be an integrated indoor mall like it used to be. Pretty fine with it though. It looks pretty nice. They have a lot of new stores, TJ Maxx, Ulta. I think that's, hold up a minute. Yeah, that's Five Below. Alright. And DSW and Carson's. And also, just for a little bonus, there's Advocate Medical Group. They've been there for as long as this plaza has been here. And it's looking pretty nice. Check this one out. Okay guys, so I had no idea about this site up until like a few weeks ago. This gas station called Keen is actually one of two self-serve gas stations in Chicago. I know we heard about the first one in Hidden Chicago, but I had no idea that the second one was out south over here. Obviously this is an old place because it's one of the very few self-serve gas stations around. Only two again. Okay guys, so I couldn't find any more information other than that this place has been in business for like 87 years. And look at that! He's serving somebody and he's wiping their windshield. Isn't that nice? Alright. So yeah, this place has been in business ever since the 1920s, I'm assuming. And they said it's been in business for 87 years. And yeah, it was somebody self-serving there and wiping somebody's windows. So yeah, it's a pretty historic site, like right under my nose. I had no idea it was there on 111th and Beverly. And here we have the Carter G. Woodson Library. This library was opened in 1975, and for a while it was the only library on the south side of Chicago. This library was named after Carter G. Woodson, an African-American historian who devoted his life to the African-American history. This library has the Vivian G. Research Collection of Afro-American History, and it's the largest of its kind in the Midwest. And this, as you can see, this library is undergoing intense reconstruction. It's set to open in early 2018, and from the looks of it, it's looking pretty nice. In 1927, two Chicago entrepreneurs bought a sheep grazing land and turned it into a grass strip for barnstorming. The Navy requisitioned it in 1941 and modernized it for World War II aircraft training for its pilots. After the war in 1946, the DuPage County bought the entire airport from the Navy for $1. The economic post-war boom saw an increase in air traffic along with the rise of the new air industry. During the 1970s and 80s, it served as a reliever airport for the neighboring Midway and Chicago O'Hare airports, and it expanded its land as a buffer zone, which you now see today as a bunch of golf courses. This was due to the fact that the investors didn't want another Midway, where the airport would become entrapped by a bunch of surrounding neighborhoods. For my fourth historic site, I'm in the Pullman area, and I'm recording the arcade. This place was built from 1881 to 1882. It was the town of Pullman's largest public building. It served as a mall. It had a 1,000-seat theater, multiple privately owned stores on the inside. There was a 1,000-seat theater as well. Hey, I already said that. There was post offices and a library as well. This building served as a center point for the Pullman area, and it operated all the way until the 1920s, until it was demolished, and this is what's left of the building. Now it serves as just a museum from what's left of what it originally was. In the back over there, these are the row houses. This area, as you know, in Pullman was a railroad area. So this is where the train workers would live at, in the row houses back there. These places are pretty expensive. This building right here was worth $320,000 nearly. And here goes the Pullman area historic site. There goes the roadhouses. If you haven't went to this place or fail to recognize this iconic sign, that's an instant point taken off your Southside card. This place is, in my opinion, the best donut shop in Chicago. Old Fashioned Donuts was opened 45 years ago by Bird Bullock and his family. It's still run by his family today, and you can still see him working there early in the morning. It's on 112th in South Michigan and Roseland. Their warm apple fritters and caramel donuts are just thorough, and its local fame has made it be featured on Fox News and CBS. So if you still haven't heard about this place, I'll just leave you alone to reflect on your life decisions like the sad little hermit you are. It's cool though if you don't like donuts though, I understand. The Museum of Science and Industry was originally called the Fine Arts Building. It was built for the World's Fair, and unlike the other buildings around it, it was meant to last. The Museum of Fine Arts left the building in the 1920s to go to a different site further downtown. Years later, Laredo Taft, a professor at the Art Institute of Chicago, called for its restoration. A loan was granted to it, and it was restored a few years later. After that, it was selected to be the Museum of Science and Industry, and the project was headed by Julius Rosenwald of Sears. The museum opened in 3 stages to the public in 1933 to 1940. In 1983, it created an underground parking lot to accommodate the visitors, and eventually people would stop using the main entrance that was originally built during the World's Fair. For over 50 years up until 1990, tickets were free. The tickets still are free today, but only on select days of the year and for Illinois residents only. For my 8th site, it'll be Northern Trust. Northern Trust was founded in 1889 by Brian Laughlin Smith in a one-room office in the Rookery Building in the Loop. The business focused on providing trust and banking services for the Chicago's elite. During the 1920s, it survived the Wall Street crash of 1929, and instead of people waiting in line to withdraw money, they were waiting to deposit it. Its conservative policies saved it from total disaster during that time. It provided loans to manufacture war materials under the Special Government Program during World War II. World War II also allowed Northern Trust to double in size. In the 50s, it was even at the forefront of automated banking services. In the 80s and 70s, it expanded to Florida, Arizona, California, and Texas. On top of all that, the headquarters for Northern Trust in Chicago also serves as the #1 city datum. That basically means that every single building from that point on in September 12, 1928, will be built to the same standards as Northern Trust Bank has. LaSalle Street is a major north-south street in Chicago, named after early Illinois explorer Sieur de LaSalle. The part that runs through the Loop is considered Chicago's financial district. The south end at LaSalle Street terminates at the Chicago Board of Trade building. LaSalle Street Terminal is just south of the whole building. The Rookery Building, built by Daniel Burnham and John Root, is located on 219 South LaSalle Street. It is also one of the oldest standing high-rises in Chicago and is considered a Chicago monument. The Chicago Field Building is also there. The north end of LaSalle Street is Lakeshore Drive at 1700 North, and the south end is 147th Street in Riverdale. LaSalle Street also served as an escape route for pedestrians during the Chicago fire. For my 10th and final site, I chose Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive, otherwise known as the Outer Drive, or my personal favorite, LSD, is an expressway in the Chicago area running parallel to Lake Michigan. It is part of the U.S. Highway 41 system. The famous Gold Coast neighborhood lies on the near north side community area of this highway. The drive was originally a street for the wealthy, built by the city, who was coerced into buying it by Potter Palmer of the Palmer family. As the city grew and modernized, the small lakeside road would have a new use as a highway for motorized vehicles. Navy Pier, Jackson Park, the McCormick Place, and the Lincoln Park are a few of the well-known sites that neighbor this expansive road.